streamed on YouTube. So I would like to welcome all the participants on the call and mention that this is an interactive session. For the first 30 minutes, we will be talking, or I will be talking to Lynn in conversation. And thereafter, we'll open the floor to the audience and take some questions. If at any point you have questions as well, please, this is an interactive session. Please type it. For the first 30 minutes, we will be talking, or I will be talking to Lynn in conversation. And thereafter, we'll open the floor to the audience and take some questions. If at any point you have questions as well, please, this is an interactive session. Sorry, I'm hearing myself. 30 minutes, we will be talking, or I will be talking to Lynn in conversation. And thereafter, we'll go to the audience and take some questions. If at any point you have questions as well, please, this is an interactive session. Hello. Thank you very much. So, as I said before we start, welcome to all our participants on the call. And if you have any questions immediately, you don't have to also wait to the end. You can type it on the chat and the host will indicate this to us and we can take the questions. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Lynn Hawley. Lynn?
Hi, Delon. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's great to be here.
Wonderful and lovely to be having you. Lynn, before we even talk play, here's my predicament, right? With Jessica and I being so focused on work all the time, I'm afraid that I won't be able to unwind. How do I, as a parent, let go not only of work, but let go of being a disciplinarian and be a father and a friend to my children over the holiday period?
Yeah, Delon, I think now with COVID and so many people working from home, it's a real challenge, not only from a physical space perspective, but also a mental and possibly even an emotional space. So to try to find ways to make that transition. You know, fortunately with children, they are very, very easy to work with if you find the right language. And all they really want from you is for your eyes to light up when you see them. And in order for that to happen, they need, the parents need to be aware of the amount of time that's been spent on a cell phone or an iPad while they're interacting with the children. So, you know, a child will pick up when your attention is distracted. So you're on the phone, but you're sort of listening to them. They'll pick that up very easily. So my first bit of advice would be to really engage with them fully, look them in the eyes, listen to them. What are they saying? And really try to hear them. Also, children pick up your energy. So if you're anxious and stressed, they're going to reflect that back to you. So you probably found when you've had the hardest day imaginable and you've come home and the children are playing up a little bit, they're just reflecting that energy back. So to also find ways just to calm and center yourself and then engage with them. And the way to do that is to try and find your inner child. For me, I'm lucky, mine is really huge and it comes out every day. And I realize that it's not so easy for some people. So some really practical things to do would be to put some music on, move the coffee table aside, dance around the room, really let your hair down and have some fun. Perhaps also some action songs, so many great ones on YouTube, and some of them are really, really funny. And children just respond really well to humor. So be funny, be prepared to make mistakes. I have bananas with me all the time. I'll eat a banana and I'll put the peel on my head. And the thing in my class now is, you know, if you do something silly, they'll say to me, banana for your head. You know, I'll go and find one and put it on my head. So they really respond well to, you know, to fun. And they might look at you a little bit strangely, but it's okay.
No, absolutely. Look, I love what you're saying, dancing, being silly. I mean, these are the things that we can just unwind and let ourselves, but it's also hard. So Lynn, it seems like what you're telling me are the physical things to do. But I tell you what, sometimes the body wants to do it or the mind wants to do it. But often as a parent, I'm stuck inside my head. I mean, you mentioned that, keep the cell phones away, pay attention to the children. I get you. But as I said, sometimes I'm stuck in my own head. Maybe it's embarrassment, or perhaps we condition ourselves to be other people and grow out of fun as we get older. But what else can I do as a parent to shift this inertia into holiday play mode and back to children? So I hear the physical stuff is there something else that I can use?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as adults, we follow sort of structure and method, and it taps into that part of the brain. And so that creative side is not always being accessed. And for me, I always find creative or guided visualizations really helpful to get out of the structure and method into creativity. And there's a fantastic book that I use often with my children called Living Values Activities for Children. The one I have is age 3 to 7. It's by Diane Tillman and Diana Hasu. Absolutely fantastic. And what you can do is choose some of these creative and guided visualizations and read them to the children. And they really respond very well to them. I'll give you an example. The one that I really enjoy is called The Happy Sponges. And the happy sponges all live in an ocean of love. And they just fill themselves up from this ocean all the time. And they just live in this constant state of happiness. Now and again, however, accidents happen, and one or two might find themselves becoming a little bit sad. And so the others rally together and they squeeze out all their joy and they lift that particular sponge up. And then it relates it to a child who's also feeling sad, and just to show the child that you can have access to that love. It's there all the time. Just draw on it, fill yourself up with it, and pass it on. But what I also find for my own process in reading these visualizations is that I can look at myself and go, where am I in the process? So am I filling myself up with the ocean of love that is the divine? Am I allowing that love to come through me? Am I filling my sponge? And in what way am I giving that out to others? So always when I read these stories, it's not only for the children and applying it to them, but also looking at my own process and journey at the same time. And another one which we'll do later is imagining a peaceful world. Also a lovely, lovely visualization. Works really well with the children. And what I like to add to that one sometimes is to ask them if any colors come up for them. And that also gives me an indication of where they're at. So if we have oranges and reds coming through, then I know they're quite grounded. If some of the blues come through, do we have communication things happening? So just in terms of the chakra centers, it helps me to see, where the children are, and perhaps what they need. So so that really helps for me, that creative visualization, get into that space, and leave all the logic sort of stuff to one side.
And you say all this is in the book that I can actually pull out and read at my leisure.
Yes,
wonderful.
absolutely.
Tell me, Lynn, you're talking about creative visualization. I mean, I do meditation. The kids that try to promote meditation, but is there something that you can do for us maybe towards the end of this conversation?
Yes, absolutely. I'll do one of the guided meditations from the book. Works absolutely amazingly. You can picture it. I've had there's about 130 odd children in the school, 5 days of rain. So I think you can imagine what the noise level must be like. And all I do with my class is I take the book and we have a little pause for peace. Take them into the visualization, and it's quite amazing because there's this little peaceful oasis in the middle of absolute mayhem. So I'd gladly take that through that with you later. That'll be great.
No, that's wonderful. And what you're saying is that not only does it take the child into this lovely space, it takes the parents as well, and that's what I was alluding to more. So you're saying that it will start, or it will me, centralize me and my thinking, and make me more adaptable to the play. I love what you're saying. Um, this book, if I'm not mistaken, it is available at Brahma Kumari's, so
Yes,
we
absolutely.
can, yeah. So maybe one of the hosts can put the details up of the online shop. So if anybody's looking for it, they can actually find it there. Lynn, you have somehow highlighted the physical and spiritual aspect of my of getting out of my head as a parent. But here's another thing that I face. For almost 2 years now, we've been working from home, almost making the workspace or the home space like a workspace. I know at school teachers decorate this entire classroom with numbers and colors and etc. But I mean, now it's a home. Now it's also a workplace. How can I or should I be changing my environment a little? And do you have any tips on how I can change my environment towards a fun, calming, and educational perspective in my home?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. I think for all of us, home is about love and safety. And sometimes safety isn't only physical safety, but emotional safety as well, and especially for the little ones. And the first thing I would suggest is to, even in the holidays, keep those routines constant. Even if you're a little bit more flexible, perhaps in terms of hours, bedtime hours, getting up early in the morning, that's okay, but try and keep it as constant as you can, because any kind of creativity sort of thrives with some level of order around it. It can't just be absolute free fall, otherwise it all falls apart. So that's the first thing I would do, is keep the routines quite constant. And children will naturally know what they need from a home or from their home. And quite a nice way to explore this is to allow them some freedom. If they want to move some of the furniture around, perhaps even build a tent or a cave. Give them sheets, blankets, scarves, whatever you have, and you'll see they'll build this beautiful little home for themselves, and say to them, choose anything in the home. This is your home. What would you fill it with? And let them have that freedom to go and choose and see what they would put in home. And also have some fun activities in there. You can ask them to invite you for a tea party. Anything that's fun, and it's their little space. They might even need a little quiet space of their own, and that sort of helps from that perspective as well. You might also want to consider, which is also really a lot of fun, is in line with that same activity. Choose a theme, for example, under the sea, and that whole scene then becomes under the sea. So you can play a YouTube video with fish swimming. It's very calming. The children can be fish. Some of the girls like to be mermaids. That's a very, very calming activity. Another one, probably less so, is if you want to make Jurassic Park for the boys with their dinosaurs and dinosaur sounds. Turn the lights off, make it dark, and that's really fun as well. And it keeps them entertained, for quite a long time. So they'll tell you, what they're looking for. And then in terms of physical space, if you have a room, that is your creative or fun room, then you can perhaps decorate it or paint it with neutral tones so that it's not too stimulating. And then you can bring some natural elements in, maybe some plants. Children love to go and find treasure in the garden, so send them off. They can go and find stones. If you have shells from your last holiday, bring it all into the space. Use the natural elements. And then when they do create and they paint or they draw, put that up on the wall so you've got your splashes of color, but it's not overwhelming.
I love what you're saying, Lynn. You know what? Especially now with COVID times, I mean, whilst people are whilst it is holiday, people are also not going away. So maybe creating that environment or that space in your house is an awesome idea. Let's talk now about some of the games. I mean, you alluded to, YouTube channels and having a theme and stuff like that. Let's talk about some of the games that I can play with the kids, bearing in mind that I have an 8-year-old child and a 14-year-old child. Now, I acknowledge that these games may differ. But if I may say, as a parent, that I find that most games are suitable for all ages, and it really brings the family together. At home, we play a lot of Scrabble, we play a lot of 30 seconds, and also fruit and veg, pick a letter and name a fruit or veg. And we all love it. But what things are out there can not only bring out the child in me, but better for my kids to enjoy the full activity of fun? Give me at least about three games that you can recommend.
Yeah, so many to choose from, but I've gone with games that are really simple but keep them entertained for quite a while. And the first one is all you'll really need is a plastic cup, an old toothbrush, and a jug for yourself so that you can refill the cup all the time, because that water they're going to come back and ask you all the time to fill the cup. And all you do is you just let them go out with their cup and their toothbrush and paint or clean whatever they like. So if it's okay, maybe not your car, but bicycles, jungle gym, the wall, absolutely anything. It's only water, it's going to come off, and I promise you it keeps them entertained for ages. And a really good side sort of advantage to this activity is a lot of the time they'll be working in this position, cleaning, painting, and what that does is it strengthens the shoulder girdle, and that's what we want to encourage, for when they're sitting at school around a desk. You want to have that strength in the shoulders. I had some children the other day up on the jungle gym hanging over with one arm, the cup in this hand, the toothbrush over here, and painting like this. So it's amazing, and that's engaging the core as well, which is another thing that we look to develop as much as we can. So such a creative and fun activity. I had my children out for about 15 minutes the other day, and I had to call them in. I could have let them go for at least another half an hour. And it works really nicely for teamwork as well. So if you've got siblings, they really seem to work quite nicely together. There'll always be one that'll want to flick water at somebody, but that's how it goes. But that's really, really a great activity. And I asked my class the other day, what did they enjoy about it? And I was quite surprised with the answer, because they said they really enjoyed making things clean. And I thought it was quite symbolic, because, as above, so below. So I'm thinking that as they're cleaning physically, they're also helping to clear some of their emotions out as well. And just using the water, it's such a lovely, soothing element. And it just helps to just wash away some of those emotions. So I thought that was really quite sweet. A different thing that you could do instead of the toothbrush and water is maybe just give them some colored chalk, and again just let them out. They can draw on anything. When it rains, that's all gonna wash off. So also just engaging all those muscles that we're looking at as well. And if you want to do this activity inside, I would suggest maybe putting some pictures up on the walls, and letting them color in also in this position, or you can stick it under the coffee table, let them lie on their back and draw upside down. So really, really quite a nice sort of combination of activities there. And then moving on to a sort of second idea, salt dough is a really easy thing to make. It's 2 parts of flour, 1 part of salt, 1 part of water. So if you use cups, you just use those ratios. And anytime you bring in a texture for a child. It immediately hones their attention in, and that texture just holds their attention. So also a very meditative activity for them. Another benefit is that it strengthens those little fine motor muscles in the hands. Also for later on when we want to develop pencil grips, or even, as you say, you've got the 8-year-old at school, and I'm sure she gets quite tired holding the pen all day. So these kind of things just help to strengthen those muscles and give them a little bit more endurance as far as that goes. And then with the Salto, they can make absolutely anything. If you want to choose a theme, you can. The boys often like making spiders and insects and things like that. Girls, anything from butterflies to dolls to absolutely anything. A lot of them like making cookies. It's Christmas time, Christmas trees, anything. If you want to put cookie cutters out there, it's really fun. And the Salto is great because it'll either air dry or you can bake it in the oven for a while and then paint it afterwards. So a super fun activity. And another one that's quite similar to that is shaving cream, which you can just spray onto a tray and just let them get their hands in it, and you'll see how they absolutely love it. If you want to extend it a little bit, you could make some rainbow pasta, all sorts of bright colors. Just use some food coloring, add that into the shaving cream and see what they come up with. So some really good ideas with that. And then, for the older children, I think also taking these sort of activities and moving it into cooking and letting them help you at home. Let them help. You're their hero. They want to do what you do. So involve them. Let them do it. Such a great teaching activity as well in terms of mathematics. You have to have the right amount. You can't just throw everything into a pot and hope for the best. You have to measure it. This kind of scooping activity always such a great fine motor skill as well. I apologize in advance for what your kitchen will look like afterwards, but it's in the name of creativity, so it's all good. And then sometimes obviously with lockdown and that, we might need to burn off a little bit of energy as well. So a really great activity is finger painting. You take 2 pieces of paper, put one on the far end of the garden, put some paint, different colors on the patio, for example, and the kids can have a race against the parents in this one. So what you got to do is dip your finger in the paint, run as fast as you can, and start painting a picture on the paper. But when your paint runs out, you've got to run back, and then the next person goes. And so you go backwards and forwards, running up and down the garden, trying to paint your picture. Really fun, encourages teamwork, and interesting to see what you come up with. You could time it as well and say, right, the picture in the quickest time. The only sort of thing that I I wouldn't let them do is just let them scribble. It has to be some sort of a picture that you can see what it is. So that's a really fun family activity as well, and pretty tiring at the end of it too.
Well, that's great. So I love what you made a comment there. I totally love what you said, and I'm gonna just hone in on that. Kids thinks of their parents or their caregivers as their heroes, and they want to be part of our world. So often, and I find this happening in our house as well, often your play can be just a chore that you as a parent need to do, but you involve them into it. So I love what you're saying there, Len.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And
everything can be a game.
sorry.
I was going to say, sorry, everything can be a game. Absolutely everything. Even just if you take their toy box and you want the toys cleaned, just put some dishwashing liquid in some water. Again, use a toothbrush. Keep them occupied for hours. At the end of the day, everything is being cleaned.
Yeah. And you made 2 comments or 2 games that I actually want to refer to. The first one with the painting. It's so ironic that you're talking about painting, because just the other day my little one, and I were painting the garden bench. So it's a white table with two half chairs around it. And initially, it was hard because my first reaction, she was messing her pants, and then as she bent down, the white paint got into her hair. So my first reaction was to scold. But then I realized as well that you also have to let go. So I let go, and and she loved it. I mean, she continued painting the bench. I left her, then I joined her a little later, second coat. It was amazing. And talking about food, so my kids are already on leave now. The school closed 1 week earlier because of the COVID stuff. And talking about food, my older one, the 14-year-old, the other day made the most amazing pancakes I've ever tasted. Absolutely. It was awesome and it was so great. You mentioned them counting and seeing and using the ingredients. Just so amazing. She followed a recipe that she Googled and it tasted divine. Exactly. The aftermath of the kitchen was quite an annoyance to me. But again, you gotta learn to let go. And I suspect that's or as Jessica and I venture into this holiday together, more me, but I've just gotta let go and say, okay, let them be. And it's important as a parent, I think, to let them be. So Lynn, here's another problem that I have. I often like my alone time. And it's easy way out for me to tell my kids, you know what, son, I'm just going to play with your tablet or watch some TV, leave me alone. And whilst I admit it's wrong, but as a parent, we also want that time. And it's one of our necessary evils. What are your thoughts about screen time and PlayStations and TV and tablets? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Um, you know, technology has its place. It's amazing. Let's face it, it's just the most incredible thing. Um, and that's the world that we live in, and the children are growing up with it younger and younger. I mean, I'm sure there's some 2-year-olds at school that know their way around a cell phone better than I do. So, they really know their stuff. So, we need to just learn to work with it. For the little ones in the holidays, I would maybe suggest up to maybe an hour a day. And that's different screens, so whether it's TV or phone or tablet. Try to limit it to that if you can. And maybe the older ones, you could extend it to about 2 hours. Um, and just in terms of content, just to avoid any of the sort of graphic or more violent content. Even things like the superheroes, some of that can be quite volatile. And what we find at school is they play a lot of these games physically with each other, and it's a lot of fighting games, a lot of wrestling, pushing, punching, kicking, and that kind of thing. So to maybe just try and stay away from that a little bit and just go with the more sort of light, entertaining, and fun programs. Also, in terms of the older children as well, they might have a little bit more screen time. Also, just to watch the content, and also to realize, though, that the children also need to unwind. So for us, it's quite nice to just sit and watch a TV program for an hour or two. So sometimes, we can be a little bit more lenient. Always enjoy movie night. That's always a nice thing as a family, get together and watch a movie together. So, again, as a parent, if you can be involved in what they're watching and playing, that's always a good thing. It helps you to keep an eye on the content, but also just to be aware of what's fun for them and what they're enjoying.
Very cool. Then I have to admit, a day of holiday, 2 hours, is a bit less. I'd also probably go make them read for an hour or two, just so that I have more time to myself. And I suppose every parent wants that. So maybe 2 hours screen time, 1 hour reading, and and the rest play or chores, etc. So we towards the end of our chat or our talk this evening. And I was wondering, is there anything else that you'd like to leave me as a parent or parents out there during the holidays? Is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with?
Sure. Yeah, there's a couple of things. Just to recap a little bit on the creativity and how important it is. A couple of years ago, I got a group of children from a more formal school that was closing down, and they all came into my class. And when I saw their pictures, they were all very generic, and they all looked the same. And in fact, one little boy, I asked him to do free painting, and he sat there for ages, and he just stared at the paper. And eventually he burst into tears, and I went up and I said, "What's the problem?" He says, "I don't know what free painting is." And so my world just about stopped because, the structure and method too early on had stilted that creative process. So always with the children, they are so creative. Please just let them create. So that's the biggest takeaway from today is just the creative aspect. And then also just make time every evening if you can, just to calm and settle the energy a bit. Some really nice sort of bedtime activities. There's a game called Sleeping Logs where everybody's got to lie as still as they can. You're allowed to blink and you're allowed to breathe, and that's it. Everything else has to stay still. If you move, you're out. And you'll see they'll lie there for quite some. They might even fall asleep actually, because they'll quite a while trying to win. In fact, mom and dad probably passed out on the floor too, so you can join them in that too.
It's scientific. It says that you take approximately 7 minutes to fall off to sleep. So if they lie awake for about 7 minutes, then they're almost going to be fast asleep after.
So that's great. And then, another great thing in the day is in your creative process and whatever you're doing, choose a story in the morning, and instead of just reading it at night, which is lovely, but what you could do there as well is make the characters. Whether you're cutting out pictures in magazines or whether you're choosing the toys off the bed, make your characters and tell the story rather than reading it. And usually the visual cues will hold their attention quite nicely. And then just another idea is to make up a story. So, I could start with once upon a time, and then the child will go, there was a princess. And I could say, you lived in a castle, and then she'll say, she went to the beach. And so the story goes on. And, if you've got a few of you, it actually can take you on some very strange and exciting journeys. So quite a nice thing to do just for settling at the end of the day.
No, lovely. I also want to hone in on one of the comments you made, and that's creativity. Creativity, I've heard this from someone very special, that creativity is chaotic. So we as parents must not think that, if I'm going to allow my child to be creative, I've also got to allow that their minds are going to want to do what their minds will want to do. And that may not at all be dependent or live in your world, but you just got to allow it. So absolutely. Thanks. I mean, creativity is rather chaotic. Lynn, Thank you for your time thus far this evening. I see that there are 13 guests with us today. Let's hear if they have anything to ask you.
Sure.
Yeah. So the floor is open. Can the participants?
Hello, this is a question for Lynn. One of the things that I'm aware of is that physical activity. So on the one side, you spoke a lot about the creativity, and that's beautiful. And so just, I remember once having so much fun with you as you did the monkey dance. And as we did this dance together, I mean, I felt so relaxed after that, even though it was quite active. So maybe just to share about these kind of active movements like that to help us relax more, because I found it very, very helpful.
Yes, absolutely. Ah, the monkey dance. My children absolutely love it, and it is exhausting. Absolutely exhausting. So if you do have an excess of energy, that's the one to go for. Um, yeah, so that's got the movements in it, and you got to jump and you got to move, and it goes on and it goes on and it goes, and you got to move this way and you got to move that way. So that's just absolutely lovely. And some other games that I like to play with music is musical statues. So we dance and then stop the music, and everybody's got to stop. And you play the music again. If you move, you're out. And then you just let them join in again afterwards. And another great one is last to sit. So if the music stops, whoever sits last is out. So also really, really fun dance and fun activity to do. My personal favorite is Mamma Mia. So all the children in my class know all the words to the songs because that's what we play. It just gets us going. And they really, really enjoy it. And not only that, just some of the action songs and the sing-along songs are so lovely too. Found a lovely one called Five Little Elves the other day. And then Dominic the Donkey, which was absolutely hilarious. So, I was, when you start laughing so much that the children are laughing at you, then you've found a good one. So, yeah, anything that just, there's just so many that you can find. There's a chicken dance, that will just burn off some of that energy and then just take you into a more relaxed space.
No, wonderful. Thank you for that, Lynn. I'm actually going to go Google monkey dance, seeing that Sister Dipti had such a awesome time. It would be really nice if you put your camera on and showed us, but maybe another time.
I need the music
Maybe.
podcast. Maybe next time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think for now we'll Google it. Is there any other questions? Sister Lakshmi just said thank you, Delan, and thank you, um, Lynn, for a beautiful session. Is there any other questions, any other thoughts, comments, whilst we have the expert Lynn on it with us?
There's a comment from Sherry Delon, and she said, at the end of the day, each person tells the others about one thing that happened, and at the end of the story, one asks, what did you learn from that? So, a lovely way of also ending the day.
I love that. Yeah, love it.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, it's important, I think, to have morals of what you learned every day, to find the good, so that children will keep that with them. And their minds are amazing. They keep this little thing. So Sherry, thank you so much. We appreciate that. Sorry.
No, that's lovely. That's lovely. What a lovely idea.
Yeah. So before we say goodnight and close with a commentary, because I'm really keen to listen to Len's commentary regarding the visual creative meditation. Just a little recap. So one of the things we learned tonight is parents need to get out of their own heads, and that's me included, and we can let go by putting on some lovely music. We said monkey dancing, and also we'll know that we're doing it right when we see our kids' face light up. I love that point, Len. Absolutely, children need to see us do it and get excited about it. So yes, point number 2 I'm taking from this is that we try guided meditation to help the process, which we're going to do now. Also, let the kids create their own play area in their house. Try painting games, cooking, baking games, balance it also with some games with burnouts, and don't be afraid to bring the children into our world. I love that point. We don't always need to make games for them. We can use our chores as parents, bring them into our world, and let them help us and make it a game. If you're renovating a room, if you're renovating your house, here's your little area to paint, here's your little area to knock a little nail, whatever it is. And then another takeaway is screen time has its place, but we actually have to monitor the the content. And sometimes parents do want that alone time, but let's find a balance, maybe a little bit of reading, maybe a little bit of screen time, and a lot of playtime. And we'll try some settling activities towards the end, and that's for a restart of the next day. With that, thank you so much, Lynn, for your time. We appreciate you. Thank you, everyone, for joining in on the session today. We look forward to future sessions with you. I hand it over to you, Lynn, now for the final meditation.
Thank you so much, Delon. It's been such a lovely evening, and thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. I'm going to invite you now to imagine a peaceful world. Each one of you is smart. An interesting thing about children is that each child already knows about peace. Today, you can use your imagination to make a picture of a peaceful world in your mind. But to do that, you have to be very still for a few minutes. Let your body be comfortable and very still. Imagine a world in which all the people in all the towns of the world like each other and get along very well. There is only peace. And imagine in one of those towns a pretty garden with trees and flowers. It's very nice in the garden. The grass is soft, and you can hear birds singing. You watch the birds fly slowly across the sky. There is a safe and peaceful feeling here. There is a little pond nearby with golden fish swimming slowly. You watch the fish. They are swimming slowly and peacefully. Now, in your mind, picture a swing. You sit on the swing. Now, one of your favorite people comes up a path and is happy to see you. That person is very peaceful today. And that person slowly pushes you on the swing. You enjoy watching the pretty garden from up high. When you get off the swing, feeling peaceful and full inside, you see yourself in this room. Om Shanti.
Thank you for your beautiful meditation. It was so beautiful. Thank you, Om Shanti.
Thank you, Om Shanti. Thank you, Len.
Thanks, Delon. So we have some resources on the screen that you can use. There are quite a few activities on our nursery school channel, Done Vegan Nursery School, and that is lots of different games and activities that you can try. The shaving cream activities just looked amazing on Google, so you can have a look at that. And then we've posted a video just of an example of how to make a story practical.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Delon.
Tiny flower breaks the stone, her roots connected far below. Drinks the power of the sun, testament to anyone who's taken on what seems to be with faith to launch 1,000 stars, to ride a comet straight to Mars, when all oppose refuse to see that it will never be. Collective mind and one belief, impossible. The quiet way unseen by eyes who seek to shine a neon light. The gentle, strong, insistent flow of one who says they do not know, but understand and show in ways remarkable. I wish to swing out of the sea, to land inside this landscape me, a solitude of still repose, and quiet concert there compose.